Okay, like you guys said, we don't need this. So I'm going to share with you my PowerPoint presentation in which okay. So I will do my best to make it as short as possible. Uh, that's my plan from now on. Um, and before I start, I wanted to remind you that we you are supposed, right, to get started with the final project, right? And if you got stuck at anything and you want me to discuss it with you, feel free to email me and I can create a Zoom meeting. We can talk about it. But in general, what I am expecting you to do, as I already talked about it, you are looking at the the linguistics of the Arabic language, particularly MSA, everything we are learning together. And I would like you to take the essential parts of all the elements of the linguistic structure, starting from phonology, then morphology, syntax, okay, and to whatever we get. So I don't know if we will have time to go beyond syntax, but if we are able to do so, then we will go beyond syntax, and then you will have to um, make some comparison between what you have learned in MSA and think about it in the other language of your choice, and yeah, and then be prepared to uh, defend or to present. Um, okay. Um, so today, so we are still. So I think we have now moved to syntax, right? So and we are still at the smaller component of the clause. I mean, because when we talk about syntax, we talk about clauses or sentences, but we haven't yet gone there. We are still within the phrase structure, and the phrase is usually a clause or a sentence is composed of phrases. Okay, so we've done noun phrases, and now it's time for us to look at verb phrases. Before we start, just to um, get you well prepared, um, to get you well prepared, I would like you um, to think of how different this lesson is going to be from the lesson of verbs that we did in morphology. So in morphology, we looked at the P stem and S stem of the verb, focusing on tenses, present and past. And we also talked about how the pattern of the verb in the active changes to the passive, right? And we talked about the fact that we have the 10 measures. Um, okay, so if you think about it well, at that level, we were only limited to words, okay, to words. But phrase, but now we're in morphology. Sorry, we're in syntax, right? So beyond the word, so a group of words. Um, so um, what you should consider as verb phrases are things like um, the main verb or the verb with something that and that something doesn't make the verb something not I mean beyond that's not the head of that phrase. So when you think about that, we're thinking probably of how to negate verbs. For example, when you say أنا ما كتبت, right? So ما كتبت, that's a phrase, that's a verb phrase, okay? Or أنا لن أكتب, that's a verb phrase composed of the negation particle, if you like, and the verb itself. So things like that. So we will see what we add in MSA to make verb phrases. Okay, what we add to the verb to make verb phrases in MSA. Okay, so if you like, this is what we are going to learn today. I don't think we're going to learn these things, but we will be aware of them. I think most of these things you know because you are either Arabic speakers or Arabic learners. So um, this is the first um, slide. Um, so verb phrasing MSA is if you like, when we're talking about verb phrasing MSA, we will talk about three main points. So aspects and factuality as one, and then mood and modality and time and tense as another aspect. Okay, so we will go through these things one by one. So let's see what aspects and factualities say about verb phrases in MSA. Um, so first, aspects in be it in Arabic or in any other language is um, is concerned, if you like, with whether the the action, if you like, of the verb, because we're talking about verbs, is complete or non-completed, right? Is completed or non-completed. Hence, it's or ongoing, like it never has an end. So um, um, and it involves both the S stem and the P stem, right? Um, um, so uh, let's look at um, when we say, for example, um, uh, um, uh, أكلت الغداء, right? أكلت الغداء. That's a verb phrase, and because the verb is in the S stem, so it looks like the stem is related to completeness or completedness, sorry. So referring to the fact that the action is complete. So akaltu al-ghada, so the action is completed, right? But when you say ana akul, right? Al-ghada. So uh, ana akul al-ghada al-an. It's a non-completed, and it's also, we can also think of it as ongoing, because I'm not telling you exactly when the action starts and when it's going to end. So think of, in English we say I am having lunch right now, right? So I'm not telling you when the action starts and when it's ending. So present progressive indicates that kind of uh, uh, ongoing or non-completed action, and that's aspect. So here we're talking about aspects, right? Um, so um, one thing to another thing to consider when we're looking at aspects in MSA, um, is the fact that the pastness, the idea of the past, um, is not really related to the stem at all. So um, past is not always, sorry, is not always related to the stem, um, meaning the verbs can be conjugated in the stem past, right? But they may not refer to pastness. And look at this, and here are some examples. Al-Arab إخوة, right? مهما كانوا مختلفين. So the Arabs are brothers, right? However, they are different. In English, this is what you would say. However, however they are different, they are brothers. The Arabs are brothers, right? In Arabic, notice that we have used كانوا. So العرب إخوة مهما كانوا مختلفين. So كانوا is past, right? When you think of tense, it's past, but aspect is not past. Um, an example of this in English would be sentences like in conditional sentences. I mean, in terms of conditional, for example, if I were you, I would do this or that, right? So this verb, even if it's conjugated in the past tense, it does not indicate pastness. Okay, so if I were you, I don't mean in the past, right? Um, so if I had time, I would go to um, okay, to this place. I'm referring to future, right? So it's not past, even if the verb in English is conjugated in the past tense. So we have that thing. We have the idea of the pastness as not very central to meaning of the stem, right? So we have stem, but in certain cases, it's not always referring to past. Okay, so this is an example of aspect. Is that clear? Does that make sense? Yes. Okay. And I would say to my son, for example, now, إذا تكلمت سأعاقبك. If you taught, literal translation, if you taught, I will punish you. This is how we talk in Arabic. In English, you would not say it like this. You will say, if you talk in present, if you talk now, I will punish you. But in English, in Arabic, in MSA at least, we do this. Okay, so إذا تكلمت سأعاقبك. Okay, so these are examples providing evidence, if you like, that there is no pastness that is indicated by the stem. So this is an example of aspect. So far, so good. Yes. Okay. So thinking of the final project or thinking of comparing languages, I would say, when you are thinking about this by yourself, when you are revisiting this, think of the other language you are comparing MSA with and see if it's similar or if it's different, and come up with in terms of aspects. So, okay, it looks like in English it's not the same as in Arabic, right? At least in the examples provided. In the two examples provided, you would not use kanu, but you would use are, right? Not were, but are. You would not use you spoke, but you would use you speak or talk in the second example. So this is how I would like you to compare, okay? whether if it's the same, it's the same. If it's different, I'm assuming it's gonna be different. You know, I'm not claiming that I know all the languages you are investigating in your final project, but just because I am a linguist, I think I assume that since the languages you are oh, I'm not talking here about, I'm excluding the ones who are doing the spoken varieties of Arabic. Maybe there are some similarities, but the other languages, because they don't belong to this family, right? You know, Semitic languages like Hebrew, no one has taken Hebrew. I was hoping so we can learn about Hebrew. Uh, yeah, so the other languages you have picked are different. They don't belong to the family of Arabic. So I'm assuming, just assuming, they will be different in terms of aspects. So more about aspects and factuality. So P-stem marks the non-completedness, right, of an action or state. And you should all agree with that, right? P-stem, which indicates the present, the so-called the present al-mudari intense, right? So whatever verb is conjugated in the P-stem, it doesn't really indicate completedness, right? Yes, but instead, this is what indicate. So number, it can either indicate a general truth, like uhib al ice cream, right? So there is no completedness in here. Uhib al ice cream, it's just a fact, right? Hence factuality related to aspect, right? Habits, like in English, it's the same. You would say I always wake up before 7 a.m. every day. Yeah, this is so in this case it will be for habits. We would also use what the equivalent of what we refer to as P-stem in English, right? Present. Duratives like هو يكتب كتابا في اللسانيات التطبيقية. He is writing a book in applied linguistics, so we don't know when he started and we don't know when he's going to end. So there is like um, um, there is an extended time, if you like, that maybe has started in the past and it's still happening, and it may go to the future. So, and then we have we use the P-stem for circumstantial clauses or in circumstantial clauses. So taraktuha, right? Think about it. I left her. تركتها past, but تدرس في الجامعة. So in English you would use the gerund, right? I left her studying at the university. So I left her at the university studying, right? Attending lectures. In Arabic it's the present. So تركتها تدرس في الجامعة. So it's it just marks non-completedness. We don't know. All I know is that I left her studying. So future, okay, future also um, indicates non-completedness of an action or state. So I will travel. سأسافر سوف أسافر سوف أذهب سأذهب. So this is a phrase, right? Verb phrase. It's going beyond one word, right? So that's why it's in syntax. Subordinated noun clauses, right? So a subordinated or subordinate noun clause is a clause that usually functions as a noun clause in general. It functions as an object if it's subordinated. So أردته, I wanted him. This is past, but the sentence is in the past. But because the verb is in the subordinated noun clause, and the verb here I'm referring to is يتخرج, it has to be in the P stem. أردته أن يتخرج من جامعة بوسطن. I wanted him to graduate من جامعة Boston. So when you say this sentence, you're not really indicating that this person is that I wanted him to graduate from Boston College, or um, I'm not indicating here completedness, right? So I'm not sure if he had graduated already, still working on it. So okay, so these are 6 main examples that in which the P stem, sorry, doesn't mark completedness, okay, or marks the non-completedness of an action. Okay.